We owe everything we have from Marvel Comics today to Stan Lee. And I know some people in the comments are obviously going to bring up other contributors like Jack Kirby. Obviously, they were important in it as well. But nobody can ever undermine what Stan Lee did for Marvel Comics. So in this video, we are going to celebrate what would have been Stan Lee's 100th birthday today had he lived on. Again, I've already seen this in some comments, even under Marvel posts, and again, please take the negative energy away. Yes, people that created the likes of Captain America, and even some of Jack Kirby's creations, were obviously not Stan Lee's. But nobody is going to argue that Stan Lee was a visionary ahead of his time who fought ahead, fought for diversity, fought for women, fought for teenagers in comics, and some of the ideas he had, which everybody laughed at, would go on to be the most beloved characters of all time. From the X-Men to Spider-Man to taking concepts already existing and bringing them to a more modern contemporary time at his time, left a huge legacy and mark on not just Marvel Comics, on all of comics. And I want to bring up one thing specifically, and that's the classic Stan Lee's soapbox, which many of you remember. And there's one that always sticks out. And if you would like to pause it and read it, I highly suggest you do, because people forget that this is what Stan Lee was all about. This is what he fought for, and this is what he stood by since joining Marvel Comics. He never backed down. He always fought for exactly the things he lists here. And he always wanted equal representation and everybody to have their voice heard. And I think that's one of the most enduring things that will always be remembered for Stan Lee and his contributions. And I've talked about it before and posted pictures of it when I got to meet him with my wife, and obviously she was Black Cat, I was in a Spider-Man shirt, had him autograph some things, and he was just so happy to find out, oh, you're from Bosnia. I was like, yeah. And he automatically knew. He knew, what Bosnian kids my age went through. And he was so sympathetic and understanding. And happy to see that I found Spider-Man as sort of a, savior. I've talked about that before. And when he heard it, he was like, this is why. I remember distinctly how lit up he was. And that to me is important. It's remembering the legacy, remembering what he brought to Marvel Comics, remembering the legacy he leaves behind. And what he was really trying to say with Marvel, and how much he believed in the characters he put on the pages, and really how he wrote some of these characters that felt like it was you. He understood that taking the teen angst, growing up, feeling different, feeling like you don't have a place to belong, putting it on a page, and translating that to a place where you felt welcome. And if nobody else gave you the time of day, and if everybody looked down on you for liking this one thing, you knew that Stan Lee could always have your back, and you were sort of going to be represented in something that he put out. Even if you secretly were different inside and felt different, or knew you were different, you couldn't say anything about it. It was represented in his comics and his writing, and I will always remember that. And there's a couple stories I've told on various podcasts in relation to X-Men and people discovering themselves through comics and things like that. And that to me is always important, and reminds me of why I have some very close friends who very much identify with specific characters in Marvel Comics, and how he endorsed new creations that have grown to take on lives of their own and just completely changed the way we look at comics, and how everybody respects it. And I truly hope that everybody continues to carry on with what Stan Lee said and what he wanted from Marvel Comics. And that's something where we can all find representation in his creations and in Marvel, and an escape when we need it.